Alright, hello everybody. We're live now.
Ooh, it's streaming immediately? Wow!
Yeah.
Garbage.
Wait, what happened to this being on the TV? Hello? Are we
Hello?
still having a technical issue? Please don't be having a technical issue. It's not going through to my TV. Hello? What the heck?
What's the delay on OBS?
There we go.
Oh no, that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
OBS is still so laggy though. Looks like you're getting the audio.
I think maybe the Windows update did do something to OBS. Because OBS is being shit. And also is out and also like you seemingly need the other program.
I had the volume up too loud again.
Oh no.
Like the audio, like little bars show you the audio levels. Oh, well they're back to normal now, so I don't know. All of a sudden they're normal.
Funky. Anyway, let's Mania. Let's Mania. Let's Mania. Let's Mania.
This is our Hazy Cave Zone.
No, it's Hydro City Zone. Wait, look! It had three letters in the thing. It isn't just HZ Hydrocity Zone.
Yeah, that's why I said
It's
Hazy Cave
HZ.
Zone, because it was HCZ. And it made me think of Hazy Maze Cave for some reason.
Hey Arrow,
Why is Sonic so purple?
it's canonically Hydro City Zone. Fuck you. Yo, Mellow Jacket. Yo, Coffee Mewtwo? Oh my fucking god, that's a good username.
I presume game audio is working? Nobody's mentioned it?
Yeah, I heard Switch audio earlier.
Yeah, that was because my volume was too loud and it came over my microphone.
Yeah. Game audio is A-okay, apparently. Long
Good.
time no see, Mellow Jacket. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Because, we had some serious technical difficulties before the stream, which is the main reason why it's so late.
Was a fucking nightmare.
I still don't understand what happened, but it's fixed now, so...
Oh, that's okay, Arrow. You can hold on to that as long as you want. Honestly, the longer you hold on to that, the funnier it is.
Thankfully on Sundays at the moment I have extra time that I can stream.
I'm gonna be real here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What was I about to say? So, oh, never mind. It fell out my brain. It literally just fell out my brain. I've had a weird day. So, I'm kind of a little grumbly at the minute. But I mean, like, usually grumbly. I'm very rarely not in some kind of weird state. Blank the ledge? I don't know if I could actually... Hey, Foxtrot. That sounds like an irresponsible situation. I'm not fit to be around. I can barely look after myself. No brain, only
Hope I don't get
brain.
those rings back.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, I think I got confused because blank is like, isn't blank like Spanish for white or something? I don't know, I probably overthought it. I have a tendency to overthink jokes and assume that there's like... I assume I don't get the joke. And then I
Oops,
imagine
wrong
some
button.
hypothetical of a joke which doesn't exist.
I think it was a little loud.
Wait, it's French? I thought French was blank A, with like an A at the end.
No, that's the Street Fighter character.
Oh yeah, the green fucker. Oh, Blanco is Spanish. Oh, you know, hey, I was like mostly right.
Blanket is
I was,
English.
like, blanket. Yeah, it's a different word, Alina.
It's English for blanket.
You know, I was watching a video today. You know, conlangs.
Oh.
You may have cut out. I think you probably said no though.
No, I didn't say anything. I was waiting for you to continue.
Sorry, I was asking as a genuine question. But yeah,
I thought you were
conlangs
asking
are
the chat.
Oh, that makes sense. But yeah, conlangs are constructed languages. And basically, apparently, like, so it's like a big hobby a lot of people have, constructing languages. Apparently, J.J.R. Tolkien did a lot of it. But a lot of them have, like, been proposing spelling reform for English, like ways of making spelling in English more consistent. And I watched just a big video talking about them. And number one, how most of them aren't good. Apparently most of them are just like, well, for a start, because you can't get anybody to adopt this shit. So if they're presenting themselves as actually useful, then they're not. But also just a lot of them have problems. But then at the end of the video,
I forgot about this part.
At the end of the video, there was something the video maker pointed out, and I'll try and find the channel username so I can give them credit for this observation. But they said that spelling in English, right, would become consistent if everybody stopped correcting each other's typos and misspellings for, like, a generation.
Oh.
Because what would happen is, unintuitive spellings would just die out. People would just start spelling them differently, and because they're not being corrected...
Well, that's how pronunciations happen as well. That's just how language happens in general, is it just kind of happens.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what he was... what they were saying was, if we just stopped... if we just loosened up a bit, English would probably become more intuitive. Which I think is an interesting idea. Let's have a look if I can find it. It's a video by Jan Masali, who is the same person who did a critical analysis of the original Mario Bros. That's not the arcade one. I mean, the original Mario Bros is in, like... Apparently, like, the Game & Watch game Mario Bros came first, so that's technically the original. And that one has nothing to do with pipes or anything like the arcade version. It's apparently a completely different game that, like, I believe in, like, later iterations, like in Game & Watch galleries and stuff, is just called Mario's Cake Factory or something. The difference between your and your is like, I'm glad that that's become a meme, the difference between those two. Like, whenever somebody needs to think of a pedantic spelling correction, it's always your and your. Your and your. That'd probably be a better way of saying it. Your and your. No. I mean, I don't know.
Both pronounced your. And then
yeah,
there's also Y-O-R-E.
Yeah, but your is like the halfway between you are and your.
Yeah, but that's not how people pronounce it. The thing that gets me about English, of course, is the observation I made where, like, we have so many letters, and there's basically, like, infinite possibilities for how you can arrange them, and yet we've ended up several times with the exact same word, pronounced the same way, spelled the same way, and yet it has, like, two different meanings. It's like, there's no reason why we should have that. Like, there's so... it could be literally anything, and why have you picked the same thing multiple times to mean different things?
It is pretty fucking legendary, as they say in the industry.
It's incredible. Because sometimes you'll have words that are spelled differently but pronounced the same, which is also, like, I feel unnecessary. in some cases, but at least that's better than it's spelled the same. Oh, there's the tails butt.
The tut.
But yeah, it's spelled the same and pronounced the same and means different things.
You know, that video actually gave an example of a hypothetical spelling for fish. I just want to share with everybody.
Fish.
Apparently, you could spell fish P-F-Y-C-H... No, P-F-Y-C... No, P-F-Y-S-C-H-E.
This is supposed to somehow be an improvement?
No, that was an example. That was an example of how the current system works and is inconsistent.
Oh.
The fact that that could pronounce fish as well as just F-I-S-H. Yeah, you wrote right. Yeah, you wrote Mellow Jacket.
Fish. It's because, well, the problem with English is that it's made out of several different, very different language structures. Like it's made out, it's a Germanic language initially, but then it also developed a lot of things from the Romance languages, which are basically the polar opposite of a Germanic language. And so they clash really hard, and you end up with really weird rules. Incredible. What was I gonna say? What was I gonna mention?
The spooky link.
What was I gonna mention?
Do you ever wish you could go to the physically impossible checkerboard ball?
There's something I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
I think it was about language stuff. What was it? It was before you interrupted me with fish. Oh yes, I was just gonna go, oh no, the poor fish. All of that, and that was what I was going to say. Incredible.
I love you dearly.
It's like, what was I gonna say? And then, oh, it's just a joke.
It's just a joke.
It's just a reference.
I tricked somebody in my family into knitting a pride hat for my head.
I saw that.
Yeah, I also asked for it to be like 25% bigger than any hat they've ever made before because I have a fat head. Just a big bobble head.
Did you know there's a brand in the US called Fathead?
I'm not surprised.
And they just make really big like life-size decals of like people you can stick on your wall. Usually football players is what I've seen advertised.
Mallow, that's fucking cursed. Are the 100 bits at the end an apology for me having to read that? English is weird, but it can be understood through thorough, tough... Wait, no. It can be understood through tough, thorough thought, though.
Tough, thorough thought, though.
Those words all fucked me up when I was a kid. Big brain. I am not. You know what? Actually.
Also, English is considered an informal language, as opposed to formal languages that have very particular, like, set-in-stone rules. English is just kind of. It just is, really. It doesn't exactly have rules.
I would believe
a lawless language.
I would believe that I have a big brain. Because I tend to have a lot of room for information, but it's very unwieldy, and retrieving any of it's a nightmare. Which kind of sounds like a big, but also non-dense brain to me.
Like Spanish, for example, is an example of a formal language. Or Italian, or etc. For a second I thought I have the audio down low. For a second I thought this was running in the 90s. I heard the do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Oh, Lena, I fucking love you. Yeah, it sounds like memory's super weird. It's interesting how, like, as far as I know, they don't even understand how it works yet.
Oh, game over.
Oh no!
I mean,
Elena, how did you game over?
I ran out of breath. I hate the underwater levels.
I thought, wait, doesn't this stage give you, like, air bubbles?
There was one air bubble earlier in, but then there was never another one.
Huh? Weird. Weird. I thought it was, like, almost impossible to drown here.
Yeah, consciousness, as a whole, is not very well understood. It's still sort of a forefront of science that we're just sort of vaguely dipping our toes into at the moment. Still. Because the brain is like the most complicated thing in the known universe at the moment. We really don't understand it very well yet. The most mysterious object in the known universe.
Yeah, I've heard of that, like the difference between long and short-term memory. And I've heard something about quality of sleep affecting how well things go from short to long.
Yeah, sleep affects a lot of random things.
You know what I'm really interested in terms
also,
of memory?
Dreaming affects a lot of random things. Apparently, if you go too long without dreaming, you can develop hallucinations.
Oh, well, that's concerning. But one of the things I find interesting about memory, and this is a personal subjective experience, not a thing which is accepted. But like, at least of me, I think in my mind, memories are like categorized on timelines related to topics. So it's like, for the longest time,
for me, I just remember just about everything.
So this is like a weird example, right? But up until like I hit adulthood, okay,
sorry.
It's okay, accept your apology.
It's because I have my difficulty is with like very short-term stuff, which is where I forget what I'm going to say all the time, which is exactly what was happening there. So I was trying to get that out before I forgot what it was, but it was about forgetting things I'm about to say.
I just come up with a mnemonic on the fly and hum it under my breath until everybody shuts up.
Oh. Yeah, but then I'd miss what people are saying. Because I'd be too focused. I can't focus on listening and also remembering at the same time.
That's fair. But okay, I was saying, so for me, okay, I was like, what, like 6 when 9/11 happened, right? And up until I was about 20 odd, it always just felt like it had happened in the last few years. Because, like, obviously, like, before I was, like, a proper adult, I didn't keep up with, like, well, I mean, it's different in America, because, like, it would have invaded more of your life. But, like, for me, that was a current event.
Well.
And as a kid, I didn't keep up with current events. So it was like, I had a timeline of current events, right?
Well,
and
I guess the difference there is that it is sort of, like, observed every year, the memorial of it.
That makes sense.
And so that would make it easier to understand that it wasn't recent.
Yeah, but my point is just because when I was young, I didn't look into current events much, so the timeline was compressed. So it always just felt like things happened yesterday.
I had the opposite problem with old game consoles when I was little, where I thought they were all like ancient. Including, like, the Nintendo 64, which actually came out the same year I was born, and then I thought it was an old console. Although that one is probably because the friend I had who had it, he had it unplugged and just in his room, and I remember he told me that that was the old console, so we don't play that one anymore. we moved on to the GameCube now. The GameCube was the new console, so that's the one that we play.
It's interesting you mention
so I was
that,
like, because then he would also say, well, the NES that we would play, he said that was his mom's old console, so... Oh, oops. So I would have thought, you know, okay, the N64 and the NES, those are both the old... Those are both similarly aged.
What was I about to say? Oh yeah, It's interesting you mentioned that, Mellow Jacket, because do you ever hear a phone number and think to yourself, that'll compress easily? At work, I have to take down people's phone numbers now because of COVID, and sometimes somebody will just have a phone number, and it'll have like 2 instances of digit 00, and I'll be like, oh fuck, this person barely has to even bother remembering it. Half of it is just something 00. That takes no effort to remember.
Oh, that's sort of like compression algorithms, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so my memory, of course, if you know me very well at all, you've probably heard before that I remember stuff pretty well, and I also have a photographic memory. Not the kind where you just remember literally everything. I'm not quite that much, but I remember more than average, and I can remember farther back into my life than people usually can. Like, I can remember stuff from when I was 2 years old, which is younger than people usually even start forming episodic memory. And it's helped by the fact that, like, because it's photographic, I remember stuff in pictures, right? And then we have a lot of pictures around the house from when I was little, and I think those are what have cemented my memory so well. And that's why I think also most of the memories I have from when I'm that young are of getting my picture taken. Because then I have the picture which says cemented the memory for me.
It's interesting, Mello, because, like, I think I can kind of relate to that with names. Like, there's a load of people at work that, like, I can tell apart when I can tell them apart on, like, I know the difference between them level. But then just broad categories of people all have their names blend. Like, there'll be somebody who's either Jack or the third Reese or Liam, maybe? But they're all, like, tall, spindly guys. And that's, like, just why I mix their names up.
I'm very good at remembering names and voices and faces and... Because I also have synesthesia, so audio has visuals for me too, so those get remembered visually as well.
Hey Elena.
Yeah?
You've got a photographic memory?
Yeah.
Never mind, I was gonna meme, but I can't think of a way of making it obnoxious enough.
Because like, it's like... So, yeah, so the two aspects of psychology, or just sort of science of the brain in general, is that interest me the most are like visuals and memory, because both of those are strong for me, so I have interest in them.
Hey Elena, you have a photographic memory?
Yeah.
How many stripes were on the legging pic I uploaded yesterday?
I just told you, I don't remember literally everything. It's not that kind of memory.
I mean, this is the problem, is it's hard to do this as a meme, because it's hard to think of a question that's obnoxious enough people won't think it's serious.
Oh.
I'm trying to do the, like, fucking name every... Oh, you like Sonic? Name every slope meme. That's actually pretty funny. I should make that a thing. I should make that a JPEG. Oh, you like Bis? Name every street!
Oh.
Oh, that one would be possible. Insert the one song. That one song that people used to put over the Quagmire Toilet TF video.
Oh, also something...
I got the lyrics. I got the melody.
Also something
anyway.
that makes it interesting that I have such a good memory from stuff when I was little is that there's stuff that both I and my parents remember, and like I remember it differently than they do, and well, they remember like how it actually was, because like, or I'm getting what I mean is like how I would like say things, and like apparently I used to say car instead of just car to refer to cars, but I only remember just saying car. Like I don't remember saying it like that, and I'm pretty sure that's what I thought I was saying, was just car, but apparently it was coming out twice. And my parents remember that. And then like I don't remember exactly how it was, but there was like a video of me when I was very little on like one of my birthdays. I think I was 2 or 3. and I'm running around the house with a ball, which I remember doing, and I was saying ball in like an unusual way. I forget how it was, but I only remember just saying ball. But there it is on video. I'm not just saying ball, so...
I think that has to do with the fact that, like, memories, you tend to, like, remember the narrative of them a lot, and then you reconstruct parts of it. So you're just gone, I said ball, because you're thinking of the object you referred to, rather than the sound directly. I have, like, such a big stream delay, because Mellow Jacket's here, responding to the Checkosphere, and I hear the Checkosphere on your end. This is a couple seconds out of day, I'm aware. But then I was, like, still in Hydra City at the time. Which makes this even more confusing, because then I only got a chance to mention that that happened after you left the special stage. So this is so fucking awkward as hell.
Also, now I'm reminded of that person I got into a weird argument with on YouTube. Because, what was it? They were saying that they didn't think that computers would ever be able to, like, think like humans can, because it's like, because they're not using the same type of computing or something. It was like, computers work in discrete packets of data, whereas brains don't. And then I was like, it was more detailed than that, but that was the gist of it. And so I was like, now hold on a minute, how are you sure about that, about the brain, right? Like, we don't know exactly how it works, so who's to say it doesn't, in just a way that we don't understand yet, right? Or who's to say that we can't make computers that work more like brains? And like, I went off on a lot of things along those lines, and then I thought that was going to be it. Like, I didn't expect a response or anything. I wanted to put my thoughts out there on it for other people's benefits, basically. If they saw the comment thread, I wanted my 2 cents on it in there, because I felt I was being more reasonable and less presumptuous than this person was being. And then they came back and were like, we can't recreate thoughts because thoughts aren't physical, and you can't make things that aren't physical.
Oh, fuck off. That's such a load of garbage.
It's like, what?
Okay, I have a question, right?
So, I didn't say this to them then, because I was like, okay, well, there's no point bothering with this person now. But I was just like, well, this is something I already said, actually, to him, was that, you know, brains exist in this universe, right? And so do our computers. And like, so it's obviously possible for them to exist. It would therefore theoretically be possible for us to make something that also does that, right? If we knew enough. And had the means to do so. Like, it clearly can exist because it's here in this universe.
I guess my question...
I don't even know what they're talking about anymore at that point.
I guess my question for this
Sasha.
fucking Reno is just like, if you could create an emulation of a brain, would that thing?
And other people were saying, like, even if, like, our computers work in discrete packets of data, but brains don't, you could theoretically have enough packets of data that it starts to, like, approximate being analog, which I think is exactly what you mean, where it's just sort of emulating it.
Just brute force.
Yeah, like, there's so many packets of them that it's almost the same as being analog.
Oh, Elena, apparently the bombs release air bubbles.
Oh.
Mellow Jacket has decided to give you that pro gamer tip.
I didn't know what the bombs did. They seem to not do anything. I guess that's a damage animation it's doing, I couldn't tell before.
I love the boss theme used in this and a couple of the other bosses in this game. It's called Ruby Delusions, or is it Ruby Illusions? There's 2 songs of almost the same name. But it's really fucking good. Like, one of the best Eggman boss themes in, like, a quadrillion years.
I want to look up that comment thread so I can tell it back to you in more detail. That's another thing I do like about computers, though, is they sort of can act as an extension of your memory. That's why I like posting lots of stuff all the time, just random thoughts and things that I have, is because then I will be able to remember them better in the future. Because then I can just, like, remember something vaguely, and then it can be like, oh yeah, I posted about that, let me go look it up, and I can remember exactly what I said.
I have a proposition for you, Elena.
Yeah.
Okay, so the human brain create consciousness, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. If you were to hypothetically, right?
Oops, wait, Bis, the stream is brimbled. Nobody can hear you.
From another Hello?
Okay, now the stream is back.
Okay. You keep having these little internet farts.
Yeah, I don't know why that happens.
Okay, but if we're back, okay. So, imagine you go to another reality where humans evolved with no sense of sight, right?
Yeah.
Their consciousness would not interface with even the concept of visuality, right?
Yeah.
If you were to go to another reality where humans can see colors we don't, then their consciousness would somehow interface with those colors. People who have had brain damage, right, or other such things, tend to find themselves incapable of understanding certain things. Like, I remember hearing from reading something from somebody who had like some sort of neurological problems, and she described being unable to comprehend time. But then, like, her brain healed and now she can again.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say, that's the other wild thing, is that sometimes these things can just come back. And, like, that part of the brain that originally performed that function is still gone. It's just that another part of your brain has just taken up the job now.
Now, this is the thing I'm interested in, Elena, right? Okay, is that basically, if you have the hardware to compute something, then you can be consciously aware of it in that sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's my thought process, right? Could it be? And I'm gonna. This is kind of a silly theoretical physics-esque question, right? Could it be that all things
you're making such a question, because you hate when I talk about those kind of things.
No, but this one you can get to via logical deduction rather than just saying the math goes backwards.
That's not.
Sorry. Okay, would it be reasonable to say that hypothetically, everything in existence could be conscious? It is only things that have self-awareness that can recognize that about themselves.
Well, there is the whole idea that, like, the universe is, like, the entire universe is like a brain, basically, like it thinks.
I don't know if I like that idea, because there's no known apparatus by which it could think. Or, like,
it's
no
sort of
obvious
like that's
systems.
what quantum physics is.
Okay, well, I don't like that.
Making computations, basically.
Well, that just feels like a big guess. So.
Well, this is all a big guess too, Biz.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is this. No, what I'm saying though is that my thing can be arrived at via like reasonable.
So can this,
like,
Biz. Like,
no, it can't.
It's like
no, because
scientists come up with this stuff too.
No, I'm saying okay. Maybe it can.
And they use math. Like they look at the math. They look at they just look at all of the observations of things, and these are conclusions that they can come to. And you're saying that you just, like, you're not looking at any sort of, like, actual data or anything, and you're coming up with this, and you're saying that this is more valid.
Okay, for a start, fuck you. Secondly, right, it's like, no, I'm saying that, okay, listen, right, okay, what I'm saying is that with observable things we see about our own reality,
it's like, I'm not making a judgment on whether or not I think that that's true, but I think that, like, it is still an educated guess.
I'm just saying. Yeah,
it's
but
like you're dismissing it so easily.
Some of the stuff you say is not an educated guess. It's something that maybe.
I don't tell you anything that I just came up with on my own either. I tell you things that have been thought of by the scientific community.
Okay. I'm just saying, right? Okay, the white hole thing, right? Okay. Is an interesting thing, maybe hypothetically, from a mathematical point of view. And
I even bring up that, like, this isn't a widely accepted thing either, and like, and then I bring up reasons why scientists have decided that they probably don't exist and probably don't make sense for existing in our universe. But then I'm like, and then there's these other things that could explain them that are interesting as well. And don't go against the reasons that have been found. That
I just don't like them because sometimes it feels like people come up with stuff for the sake of symmetry.
It's not
like people like they lock
it's not
themselves.
the sake of symmetry. It's just like
Okay, you know, Elena, I was describing something, and now it's turned into this. I'm just gonna finish my thing, right? All I'm saying is at the end of the day, a computer is only a series of things, is only a densely packed area of causal links, right? That's basically all it is, and that's all the brain is as well. It's a series of things which affect each other in complex ways, right? And a conscious brain is able to be conscious of the things that it is able to compute, right? Including its own existence in the case of humans. So what I'm saying is that unless you can come up with a distinction between a computer and a non-computer, and unless you can come up with a distinction between conscious and non-conscious, it's reasonable to assume that all causality is interlocked with some kind of base level of consciousness, and that any enclosed system that is able to perceive its own existence. Why not?
I'm not sure where your scientific evidence for this is.
It's a fucking. Elena, I hate you. You were willing to go to bat for white holes, but not this.
Well, and then I gave you an example of a way, a similar science idea that has been
but that idea is
posited.
But that idea is not based on anything. Like,
it's basically like we're able to perform computations because the entire universe is basically a giant computer.
But no.
And it's just sort of a more like structured version of what the entire universe is doing all the time.
Hey, Sean. I'm just annoyed because, like, my point is, Elena, right? What I'm saying, okay, right, is that what I am saying basically.
Which that also came from the observation about living things and sort of like what and is our idea of what is alive sort of too limited? Maybe there are more like categories of like things being alive, like certain levels of livingness, because you can find a lot of things in the universe that exhibit certain aspects of life, but not like all of our rules of life. Like a star, for instance, has a few of the rules that it follows, but not all of them.
Okay, Elena, I'm probably just gonna give up on what I was talking about, but I'm gonna give you one question to see if I can salvage this entire train wreck, right?
What?
Okay, Elena, do you have a distinction between a computer and a non-computer?
What?
Do you have can you think of a distinction between a computational mechanism?
I know that one person on the YouTube comments thought that the difference was that a brain is non-physical.
No, but
non-physical.
But okay, but for us, for people who don't think there's metaphysics
no, because
involved,
we don't understand that yet.
I'm just saying that I feel like if you had a set, if you had,
and
like,
I
don't
haven't
know,
read anything that tries to explain that.
I just feel like if you had a version of chess which was complicated enough to understand its own existence, it would. Ergo, like, things
I don't know how you can
conscious.
think that though, because we don't know enough to say something like that.
Because we have an example of something that's conscious right now.
Yeah,
and
but we don't know how, and we don't like.
because of its computations. There's no
like we don't
unless you get
we don't know how similar like our brain is to our computers. Like we think that we could get to something like our brains from computers, but like and of course you could decide that maybe if we understood enough we could recreate it, but at the moment like we don't know. So I feel like this is like putting the cart before the horse, maybe. So hold on one second, I can't see the chat. I just realized. There, now I can see the chat.
Oh, sleep well, Shan. But okay, what I'm saying, Elena, right, okay, is that we have an example of something which is conscious, right?
But that's all we know.
No.
That's like the end of our information.
Don't interrupt me. Let me just explain my reasoning, right?
It's like,
we have something
because I don't
conscious.
feel like it's just, you even need to continue, because it's like...
Well, okay, I'm not talking about it.
You're starting off on the wrong foot to begin with, I think.
Well, fuck you. The fact that you've been able to, like, fucking humor way more nonsensical garbage just because it comes from people with big names, but you won't listen to this, kind of annoys me. I'm not gonna lie. Because then it's like I try and like I can't even explain myself because you're like, what's garbage? Shut up, Bis.
I guess it's the difference is I don't try to come up with this stuff on my own. Because I'm like...
Oh, I'm sorry.
like...
I'm sorry. I'll just let people who get fucking pop science articles written about their garbage just determine everything.
It's like there's a reason why they are in the fields that they are and why they are qualified to talk about these things, and I'm not.
Whatever.
I only just sort of learn what they have like decided.
I guess
like, and I don't say that they're all right either.
I'm not even
Obviously,
saying
science
I'm right.
isn't always correct.
I'm not even saying I'm right. Okay. All I am saying, right? Okay, is if we assume, right? Okay.
I mean, you seem to want me to think that you are right.
No, I want you to acknowledge that it's a okay. I want you to acknowledge, right? Okay, that why I'm positioning presents in questions, right? That are interesting. Because basically, what I'm saying is, right? Okay, is basically right. If you see a brain and a computer, right? Okay, a complex series of causal links, right? They're able to process things, right? And unless you can come up with a line between what is and isn't a complex set of causal links, or just a set of causal links. We think that
there is a line like that, though. We're just not sure where to put it yet.
But my point is that unless you can come up with evidence that there is, right? Then you have to...
Well, there's no evidence for what you're talking about either.
No, I know! But I'm saying... I'm not saying I'm right! I'm not saying this is the truth! I'm saying that until you can come up with a distinction between between something that computes and something that doesn't, right? And if you assume
there clearly seems to be a difference.
Well, yeah, but what is it?
That's the question.
Yeah, but my point is, I'm just saying, right? Okay, is that until you can find a distinction between those two things, if you assume that the brain is conscious in part because it is kind of a computational system, right? Then hypothetically, a computational system, if there is no distinction, if there's no distinction between a computational system and just a load of random stuff, right? That just happens to have causal links, then fucking basically consciousness could be in anything. But it could be omnipresent as a factor of reality itself.
That's the one that I said.
No, but then you said it. But like the idea that the universe thinks is taking a bit too far. Because I'm saying that the idea that
like they had measured like sort of like even a rate at which it computes, which was like I think it like the entire universe would be having like. What was it? It was some really high magnitude number, like quadrillions of computations per second.
But my point is right. Okay, is that like what I am saying is that like if you had a chess game which was complicated enough to emulate the human brain, right? Then you would be emulating consciousness through a chessboard.
That's assuming that the human brain even can be emulated.
Okay, well, whatever. Well, there's no reason to assume there isn't. So I'm just saying.
And then
for now,
there's the question of if it was only emulated, would it like actually have would it be a true consciousness or?
No, but the only thing
we don't know.
The only thing we know happens in the brain, right? Okay, is computation. So there's no reason to assume.
We think.
Well, we think, but yeah, but what I'm saying is, right, okay, is the reason what I'm saying...
We don't know these things.
Well, okay, you just keep talking over me, so I don't care anymore. Because you just want... Because my point is I'm saying, right, okay, what I am saying is that until you can come up with distinctions, right, then the idea that everything is conscious but not aware, whatever that means, and that things are only aware of what they can compute, and that the human mind is the only known case where something was conscious and able to compute its own existence. Like, that's a reasonable scenario to imagine, unless you can come up with a distinction between a computational system and a non-computational system, or a distinction between anything. And a distinction between anything has to be found. You can assume there's one for the sake of argument beforehand, but until you
Which is
find
what you're
one...
doing.
What?
You're assuming stuff too.
Yeah! No, but this is the difference, but my point is, okay, is I'm not saying that I'm right, I keep telling you, I'm just saying that, like...
Well then, what are you even saying?
I'm saying, right, okay, that unless a distinction is found between causality within a certain density and causality on the just in general, then it would be reasonable to assume that consciousness is a just byproduct of causality itself, right? And that it's only in systems of causality which are able to process their own existence that it becomes apparent. Which would also take consciousness and position it as one of the fundamentals of existence.
I guess another issue of this is that I'm really not even, like I mentioned, not even sure what you're trying to say.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because you're not sure and you don't really care enough to listen. Anyway, I'm done with this.
It's like I study this stuff a lot, and yet,
well,
like what you're saying, I'm not, like, it's not really making sense to me when a lot of other stuff in this field does, so...
Well, whatever, I don't care. I never liked the original Oil Ocean Zone. It has, like, hot music, you know? Like a load of different level tropes. Like deserts, an Oil Ocean Zone, and fire levels. They all have, like, hot music. And hot music is always really stressed, and it always upsets me. Strained, it makes you really feel like you're too warm. In that really uncomfortable way. You know, I don't like being too warm. I think I'd prefer being too cold, to be honest. I prefer an absence over an overabundance when it comes to that kind of...
I mean, music doesn't actually play when it's hot out, so I don't really have any... It doesn't really make me feel any particular way.
I guess what but I feel like desert
it doesn't
music
sound hot to me.
That's I guess because you have synesthesia, it means like this feels like a different thing to you because you can say because your senses mix a lot just anyway, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm talking about like how one discrete sense invokes another in like this abstract way that isn't literal. Whereas you have the literal version of that.
I'm sorry if I upset you with the conversation earlier.
I mean, you did.
Oh.
But like. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably not doing a good job explaining myself.
Oh.
And also, like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty good. I'm, like, pretty abstract in the way I think in general. So maybe just some things I say, like, I need to be able to translate them into a form that other people can interpret properly.
Oh. It's because I thought I had an idea of what you were saying, but then every time I would bring up the thing that I thought you were saying, you'd be like, no, that's not it.
No, because your problem is that you were talking about the theory that the universe is a brain, right?
Well, even that is just, like, a metaphor.
Okay, but my point is, I don't like metaphors, because, like, there's a load of stuff that, like...
So, like, the best way you can explain it, like, without having to be extremely technical about it.
I guess what I'm just saying, right, okay, is because I felt like the difference is, right, okay, is I was just saying, right, that, like... All we have ever seen consciousness be is an emergent property of causal links, right? So I was just saying that in the same way that gravity is an emergent property of mass, right? But it only is visible in specific instances, right? It only appears
Although gravity
in a way that
is maybe one of the fundamental forces, which is something different. Where it's not just an emergent property.
Well, no, but it is an emergent property.
It's not emergent. It's just that's where the name comes from. It's fundamental.
Gravity. Yeah, well, okay.
Gravity
so I don't really care about...
it may be the other way around, and gravity causes mass.
Okay, so
that's another. Because now we're getting into another field of science that is sort of not fully understood yet.
I guess what I'm saying, right, okay, is I'm just saying that, like, if you find one big thing with mass and it pulls things towards it, I know it doesn't actually pull it, but you know what I mean, close enough, right? Right. then I feel like that's almost equivalent to we have one dense set of computations that has an input in the form of sensors, and then can compute those sensors, in our case in the abstract, right? And consciousness emerged from it. So it feels reasonable in the same way to say that all things are affected by gravity, but it is only immediately intuitively visible in specific instances.
To say that
consciousness, as a thing that to say that consciousness probably has to be universal as well, because why would specifically the structure of a human brain be exempt? And unless you can find some level at which things become exempt from things not being conscious, and you have to assume that any sort of like computational system is conscious, but maybe only able to process its own input in a way where most things wouldn't be able to have even a thought, because it wouldn't be able to compute a thought. But the potential for it to compute a thought exists constantly. Go on.
I was gonna say, I think it's the reverse of, like, I think the fundamental forces, by understanding currently, are not like an emergent thing because of matter. I think it is the other way around, and matter is emergent from the forces, because every force has at least one particle associated with it.
I guess I'm talking more about like, I guess I'm talking more about emergent from our point of view. You know?
And then I wanted to mention that gravity, one of the reasons why it's disputed whether or not it's a fundamental force, is that there's no graviton that we've ever found, like no gravity particle. But we found a particle for every other fundamental force, and in fact we found some particles first, and then that's how we discovered another force, is because we found a particle that didn't fit any of the other ones, and it represented a new force that we hadn't found before. Like the Higgs boson, for instance, which represents the Higgs force, I think it's called.
I mean, how would you feel if they renamed the Higgs boson to the Higgs cuxon?
I would be very upset and think that you had something to do with it.
I'm off somewhere in the Institute of Science, the only Institute of Science, where they keep all the documents of all science, and I go there and I just go up to the document that says Higgs boson.
The Higgs boson particle, Yellow Jacket says. Well, funny you mentioned an Alienware computer, because that's what I'm streaming from at the moment.
Wait, you have an Alienware computer?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I had no idea.
You react this way every time that you hear about this, Bis.
Yeah, because it's just surprising enough for me to react to it, but not interesting enough for me to remember it. You know? It's like mildly surprising. It's the magic.
I got it as a graduation present.
Oh. Bob the Builder bot. That really is a Bob the Builder ass bot. I don't like Oil Ocean Zone. It's interesting
also,
how they
let me finally look up that comment thing again. See how to see my YouTube comments. So right I can see a list of all my YouTube comments. Remember how to click history at the top or scroll over username and click account. The account section has a comprehensive list. Okay. To history. I'm confused. Wait, what? Oh, here it is, comments. There we go. Oh, here we go. Let's take a look. Charlie Brown. Wait, I can't wait. Where is it? No!
This is a
no, stop! Stop! Don't play it! Well, this is a bit of a mess. Just send me to the... The comment. There we go.
That sounds like kind of a good habit, Fidgety Frolic.
Here we are.
It sounds like a kind of habit that would like give you insight over time. I'm kind of like that.
Here we are.
I mean, that could help. I mean, wait, you mean the friction on stream?
Oh yes, and this person was also trying to claim that our eyes don't use pixels, even though they literally do, because there's distinct individual cells that detect light, just like how a digital camera would. In fact, I think studying the eyes is how we figured out how to make the way that digital cameras work. In fact, I think they're based on our eyes. And even if your brain sort of smooths stuff out, there is an initial sort of like resolution it is receiving the information in to begin with, right? And this person's trying to be like, no, our vision is not, like, I don't know where, like, there seems to be, like, I've seen this before. This isn't the only person I've seen be like this, where they seem to, like, be against the idea that we could be somehow similar to computers, or that computers could be somehow similar to us. They want people to be above computers, I guess.
That does sound like the sort of thing somebody get fixated on, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's also often is mixed with like a spiritual aspect. Like humans have some sort of spiritual aspect, while computers do not, and that's what sets us apart, is what they believe.
Yeah, stuff's a bit better at the minute. I mean, I guess the core issue isn't properly resolved, but like, there's an effort being made for things to be fine, so things are fine, you know? I think... Fortunately, mere physical constructs.
And yeah, our pixels we tend to do in a square grid rather than hexagonal one, but...
I mean,
there's no reason why we... Like, there's no reason why we couldn't do hexagonal pixels if we had designed them that way, but we're kind of used to square ones now, so that's kind of what we go with.
I feel like we aren't really physical constructs. I feel like the true selves are the selves we create within our minds. Like, and I feel like, I don't know, like, personally to me, I feel like there's value in the non-literal and the non-physical, right? And I feel like a person is more the collective idea of that person in the minds of multiple people and themselves than they are just like their physical thing. Like, the physical thing renders a personality, you know? And the personality obviously can be broken down to a load of physical factors, but the personality takes on an immeasurable quality, you know, in the same way that, like, a piece of art does, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I don't tend to see my true self.
Before I forget again, I got off track. They said... Okay, so this is what the person said to me. They said, I suppose you take it for granted that consciousness is a purely physical process? That's the notion I got from your comment about building a brain/computer. That's probably a huge impediment to your understanding, I think. Anything that is physical has physical properties, and while you may think that consciousness and thought are caused by physical processes in the brain, electrical, chemical, it's obvious that consciousness and thought are not themselves physical, since they lack physical properties. Unlike material things, thoughts are not extended in space, they don't have volume. And then, right at that point, I was like, you know, that's not true, though, because you can, like, we have ways of sort of visualizing thoughts happening in the brain, right, with, like, electromagnetic imaging. You can see it happening. There is physical, like, signs that thoughts are happening, and there's, like, heat generated, too. You can measure that. There's, like, there's definite physical things that occur from thoughts. So, yeah. I don't know what they're talking about, basically.
You know what, Mellow Jacket? That's really a mood. I don't really have a persona, I just have a face-owner, but, like, same thing. I basically agree with what you said. Actually, I'm going to read this out for the VOD. The weak accepting your physical form as given to you by the flesh and the meat world versus making your own idea of yourself in your brain. Brackets, we call this a persona.
Yeah,
That's
this
fair.
person was getting into stuff that I was just like, this is sort of, like, observably false.
I feel like... Okay, so here's the thing, right, okay? Is if we follow their line of logic, right? Would it be reasonable to say that, like, fire isn't physical? You can't, like, there's flames, there's the ignited material, there's a chemical reaction, but fire, the fire does not exist.
Fire
does not
well, fire is superheated material, and it is the light being given off by it.
No, but I mean, like...
Well, it's basically, like, smoke and flames are actually the same thing. The fire is just, like, before it stops, like, glowing.
Okay, but you get my point, Elena, in so much as a fire describes... Like, if you froze fire in time, right? What I'm saying is that fire... Okay, so let's ignore the thing about the flames, right, okay? Fire is kind of a thing that, like, if you pause a brain... So if you pause a brain
Slow
in
down,
time,
Sonic!
right?
Wait, no, not like that! Well...
I guess what I'm saying is that this person is saying, right, okay, that thoughts are non-physical, because if you pause a brain in time, right, you can't point to the thought. It's only a series of physical things happening which creates the thought, right?
Yeah.
But I would say that there's a lot of things like that, in so much as if you pause time during a fire, there's hot gas, and there's smoke, but there isn't the transition from unburnt to burnt material, which is characterized as fire, you know? The fire itself does not take up space, the fire is a process. In my mind, at least, in my personal definition.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You could just replace fire with something else if you don't like what I've picked.
No, I get it.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Melojacket says
you've explained something I understood this time.
Melojacket says, haven't virtual YouTubers just made their own self and turned it into a physical form you see through the computer, a form that contains a brain? Incredible.
I think the incredible was when I fell off the special stage after I had gotten past the thing I was supposed to hit, and then I couldn't slow down.
That was so weird. No, Elena. Okay, Elena. Allow me to explain something to you, Elena. Right?
Yeah.
You can push Sonic in the air, but you can't turn him.
Okay, but I was trying to slow down. I wasn't trying to... And then I didn't realize... I was trying to, like, make him run into a wall, and then I too late realized that there wasn't a wall in the spot that I was going to.
Oh, so that's why you just did exactly what you did. I assumed that, like, maybe you thought you could still turn one in midair, but you couldn't.
No, I was trying to hit the wall, but I missed the wall because I didn't realize it wasn't a wall the whole way through. So
I'm gonna be honest, I kind of wish they'd raise the walls. I get that it's like Sonic CD where there's a bumper on the floor, which is a wall.
I can't hit that. But I can hit these?
How far
Couldn't
back
hit the
am I
gun.
going? The gun?
Yeah, the gun. Oops.
Oh, you're on the boss! I would have so much stream delay. Also, I might be careful, there's oil there.
Let's see, before I do this again, let's see what else was in that comment thing. Because this is a long darn thing.
Oh no.
It says, likewise, you have every day the experience of colors, even though color is not a physical property. Maybe you haven't thought about it before, but there are no colors anywhere in the physical universe. Nothing is red, and nothing is green, and nothing is blue. There is, of course, light at various wavelengths that correspond with what we call red, green, blue, etc., but this light has no actual color to it. Color exists only in our subjective experience. Okay, and? Like...
I guess the problem is just that, like, they're like, trying to separate the hardware which renders the mind versus the mind itself. And they're basically doing the exact opposite of what I was trying to do, which is they're saying...
Let me read you this part first.
Oh, Cassie wants in.
It says, when you experience a red apple, the apple is not really red, and no part of your brain is red either. Yet you really do have the perception of redness.
I agree with what they're saying. I just think that the problem is that, like, they're assuming that that's exclusive to brains, whereas I'm saying that until proven otherwise, it has to exist to everything.
And also, we don't know for a fact that, like, we're not, like, experiencing some sort of fundamental aspect of the universe when we see the color red. Like, we don't know that that's just not how that quote-unquote looks, you know? Like, we don't have any way to sort of measure if it all looks the same to each other or not. Like, there's color blindness, of course, but that is just sort of like a deficiency in being able to discern the colors, as opposed to just like having a fundamentally different like view of it, you know? Like, it's like we don't know these things yet, and this person, I felt all along, was sort of assuming a lot of things, you know? Like
Cassie wants in.
But why does she want it?
I don't know. Let's just let her in. Who gives a shit? Let's just do it.
Okay. Sorry, this stream has not been much about Sonic, and it's more about these other things.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I do enjoy talking about these things.
Mellow Jacket says, I'm imagining some strange hypothetical meme with a really smart philosopher guy saying, apples are only red because we perceive the color. We cannot truly know what is red. And then the monkey, and then there's a monkey saying, red apple tasty.
I was watching funny monkey videos on YouTube earlier today.
Wow.
Monkeys are funny.
Hey, Elena, can I give you a little... Elena, can I give you a warning?
What?
If it pulls a platform down, you will go down with the ship. It will suction you to the bottom of the screen.
I could have used that advice a little earlier.
You know,
basically a little bitch octopus.
Mellowjack has said a minute ago that my
remember before I did this stream, Bis, you were like, "Oh, it's just Sonic Mania. This can be a short stream," and I said, "Knowing me, it's not going to be."
I keep forgetting that you find difficulty with this game.
Yeah.
Mellowjack earlier said that apparently some of my like warnings through stream delay end up being prophetic, but I don't know it. Which is really funny to me.
I gotta take my sweater off. It's getting too warm here.
Elena, why do you have your sweater on? Why are you trying to sweat?
I was wearing a sweater, but then I got apple juice on me.
Cassie, what are you, a baby?
Maybe.
I am non-sweatered now.
Finally, you're no longer you're back to being sweetie rather than sweaty. Mellow Jacket is only just now because of us realize that sweaters are called sweaters because they make you hot.
Congratulations, Mellow Jacket.
Yep.
Also, congratulations, YT guy.
Oh my fucking god. I remember like, this reminds me of a scene in Homestuck where an alien troll from the planet Alternia, several million thousand pages into their part in the story, is finally like, wait, is our planet called Alternia because it's the alternate? Fuck! and they only realize this because the previous planet their race had lived on was called Before Us.
Wait a minute. Going off that spring and then going on that thing makes you automatically roll, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's just a Sonic thing.
Wait, what spring? Oh, is it the spring you push into the wall?
It's probably like a million years ago now.
I have stream delay, so I'm probably just about to see it. Knowing me.
Well, I have major Steam delay too.
Fuck!
It's funny, most people
Also-
don't have... Why is it you two who are like often on the stream and so would like to have the least delay have the most? Because like most
Shit
people...
computer.
Most people have a delay of only like a couple seconds.
I have shit computer.
Like, I think we measured it before and people were getting about 4 seconds of delay, which is why I can have conversations with the chat usually.
Well, okay, I think also internet has something to do with it, because you stream in a ridiculously high, like, resolution and frame rate. And if people don't have great internet, then, like, I think that brimbles it somehow. What was I about to say? There was something in my brain. Oh yeah, Homestuck really was a thing that happened. Have you heard about the Homestuck browser? Anybody? Recently, some fans have like made an offline version of Homestuck that comes in its own browser, which is really useful because Homestuck's like very hard to preserve. It's like very like multimedia.
It is really an extremely good thing.
Also,
yeah,
actually,
and also
it's not automatically making me roll. I duck, which then puts me into rolling because it moves me.
Also, fun factoid. The Homestuck browser was made in a way where it's apparently moddable, and somebody has created a mod for the Homestuck browser that just takes every instance of a slur in written dialogue and replaces it with something more interesting.
Yeah, that's a big hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Is the YT and YT guy, is that YouTube?
That's one way to say
Are we
fuck
being watched
Twitch.
by the YouTube guy?
This feels like... Okay, you know what the YouTube guy feels like to me?
What?
A really awful tie-in Family Guy YouTube channel where, like, a VTuber puppet of Peter Griffin vlogs. Like in those DreamWorks Shrek YouTube videos, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh my god.
You haven't seen the videos where, like, Shrek will just come on screen, will walk on screen in, like, with like a different voice actor than usual, and just go,
Yeah,
oh,
Family
oh,
Guy
yeah."
Online. Did you know
Stop,
about the
Tails.
Family Guy
Tails, let go of
MMO?
me! Tails, stop! I couldn't get him
I've
to let
heard-
go.
I've seen the Family Guy MMO at some point, somehow. Peter VTuber, freaking sweet.
P-tuber.
No! No!
He's a P-tuber. P-tube.
It's interesting how Sonic bosses don't take more advantage of how you ping off them. Just like they invert you back the direction you were coming when you hit them, and they don't tend to. And like, it feels like maybe they don't make the most out of that system.
What were you saying?
Me?
Yeah, I missed it.
Oh, you missed. Oh yeah, I was just saying it's interesting how like Sonic bosses don't ever seem to lean too much into the fact that like, when you hit them, you ping off them in the opposite direction.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
what would
god,
you
this
do
guy
with
is
it,
so
like,
passive-aggressive, by the
If
way.
you were to take advantage of that, what would you do?
What was that, Cassie?
If you were to take advantage of that, what would you do?
Well, I'm gonna think about it for like a couple years, and I'll get back to you.
I just got looking
Okay.
at the comments again. This guy is so like condescending and passive aggressive. He's like, no, our eyes don't use pixels actually. That's silly. We have light sensitive cells in our eyes, sure, but they don't work like the CCD in a digital camera, which has a fixed resolution and outputs a numerical value for each pixel. There's no such thing as an organic camera matrix. The idea that the eye and brain work like a digital camera is an analogy that exists only in your imagination.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a digital camera.
Oh yeah, I know it's an SRB too. I
know-
remember that because I like a certain point I realized that like it's kind of easier to beat, at least for me, easier to beat the first boss without thocking.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
it's
Hold on.
there
Hold
so
on,
that-
hold on. Listen to this. It says, they say, it's more like traditional photography in which the surface of the photoreactive film is directly exposed by light. No pixels, no resolution, no data, no processing. Except for it does basically have a resolution, and it's of, like, the molecules.
Don't your eyes have post-processing, though? That's like, that's
Yeah,
what
that
an optical illusion is, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of that. Like, your brain sort of smooths stuff over. In fact, it has to, because there's a big blind spot right directly in the middle of your field of vision, and your brain has to smooth that over.
I cannot believe
well, no, I mean, there's like, because there's a spot in the back of your eye, right, where the nerves have to go through, and there's no visual cells on that spot. And that corresponds to, like, directly in the middle of your eye. And sometimes you can notice that with, like, if you get, like, a small bright object right in the middle, right where that spot is, it'll sort of disappear. It'll sort of phase out of existence.
Oh, cool.
I've managed to do that a couple times.
A small spot or a big spot?
Thank you,
It's fairly big, actually. It's surprisingly big, but most of the time your brain just fills it in for you. And
what
you
does
can
it fill it
also,
in with?
it's just sort
like
of...
information.
It's sort of like an
information.
AI thing. It's like, you know, what we do with AI stuff, where we sort of like try and add detail to images, and it just sort of interpolates stuff together and tries to guess what would be there. That's basically what your brain does.
Huh. I really want to see this with my own 2 eyes.
There are certain ways you can do it. You can, like, notice it. You might want to, you can look it up and you can find something like that.
You know what's interesting?
Wait, I had one other thing I wanted to mention real quick, if that's okay.
Go on.
Another way you can notice the post-processing your brain does is if you stare at a clock, like a traditional clock, and watch the hands go around. And if you do it right, when, like, the second hand is going to tick over,
Like,
you look away, and then you look back, and it'll look like the second takes longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that
like
one.
It overwrites the blur from when
Yeah, it's because there's actually you're actually looking at stuff slightly in the past, and your brain is just working really hard to make it seem like it's the present, so that you don't get confused, basically. It's an anti-confusion sort of method that we have evolved.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, did you know that if you look at a digital clock, which I guess nobody really has those anymore, but if you look at a digital clock and you, like...
Oh yeah, I know that one.
I know this!
I've discovered that on my own before.
Yeah, me too. That's what I discovered.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing other people noticed. I thought maybe that was just me.
So cool, isn't it?
I didn't even have...
I have like no idea what would cause that, but it's so cool.
I don't think I even had to do that, because I used to be able to make my head vibrate by tensing all the muscles in my neck at once.
Oh, I can do that.
It's weird, isn't it? Have you ever heard the thing where when your eyes are dry, and you, like, clench your eyes together, there's a rumble inside your head?
Oh.
Because nobody could ever relate to
the time my eyes have just been super dry.
Yeah,
I used to have an issue.
My eyes have ever been dry.
I used to have an issue where I'd sometimes sleep with my eyes open and then they'd get really dry, and I'd wake up. And I'd wake up in agony, and I'd close my eyes, and like this wouldn't just happen then. The rumble's like a general thing for me, but it'd be like I would hear in my head.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Because your brain, with the anti-confusion thing, your brain basically tries its best to sync everything up so that, like, you experience everything simultaneously, even if some of the things like didn't happen at the same time.
Shan knows what I mean. Thank God somebody finally fucking knows what I mean. I'm so glad I finally found it.
Like, there's a thing where, like, sometimes, like, movements and stuff that you will do are actually decided on by your subconscious.
Oh yeah.
But then, like, first, and then you get the idea to do it, and your brain tries to sync these two decisions together, so you feel like you decided it, and it doesn't feel weird.
Actually, if I just...
I don't remember any specific examples. It's usually sort of like habitual things, like scratching an itch or something like that. Just like things you do, sort of just you know, I think it may have been like more things than that. Like it's been a long time since I read that, but so actually, I'm sorry I can't be more specific, but I just don't remember.
This is the first time I'm noticing that the rocks in Lava Reef, the shading makes them look like they have stars on them.
They really do. I notice it a lot in the pause screen, because like then you just have a black and white.
They almost look like the flowers from Green Hill Zone.
Oh, fuck! That's incredible.
Oh, baby.
You know, even if I just hold my eyes open for about 10 seconds, I can get a slight rumble in my head.
No!
Cassie does not like this.
Do you ever hear the squelch of neurofluid through your spine?
No. That's not good.
What the hell is neurofluid?
Well, it's like the fluid that's in only your brain and spinal column.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Because I believe that's part of the function of the blood. I believe that's part of the blood-brain barrier system that prevents, like that's what it uses more than it uses blood to carry important stuff. So that way, there's more of it's more controlled.
Oh, that reminds me. Do you ever have a lot of juice or like water or something, and then your belly shakes and you hear it go?
Yeah, I used to notice that when I was little.
Oh, sloshy tum, sloshy tum.
Because I'd drink a bunch of stuff and then go like running up and down the hallway. Like I thought it was funny, so I would do it on purpose, where I would like run up and down the hallways really fast, just so I could hear.
Hearing your ears. Wait, Shan mentioned hearing your ears when you yawn. Do you mean like the like the sound of the sea from a seashell type sound?
The sound
of
of
the ears
blood
when you
rushing
yawn?
through your ears?
Because I think I recognize that. Mellow Jacket is completely fucking disturbed by the spine fluid.
No. I know, right? I don't want to hear that. Wait, and how would you know that that's what you're hearing?
It just sounds like it's coming from my neck, and I'm like, well, that's probably it.
It could be literally anything.
And also, I think it tends to happen when I'm tired, and I might have a stiff neck as well. That tends not to help. I could be wrong, though.
It could
Where's
be
your back injury? Because, like, maybe it's related to
Oh, no. My back injury wasn't an injury to the spine. It was a cyst on my back. So it was like a pocket. Like lower back, kind of in the middle.
Oh, I see. So, like, not really close to that.
Yeah, and like, it wouldn't affect anything deep. It wasn't deep. It was like the skin was infected. It was under the skin. There was a pocket under the infected.
Sasha, would you stop slurping my spinal fluid?
Oh, that's grody.
First it was spleens, now it's spinal fluid.
Oh my fucking god.
I mean, it's probably still spleens too.
Yeah, but the spleens did happen first.
Oh my god, Sonic and Tails arguing about which direction to move the cart in. It's fucking hilarious.
Also, I don't know how to attack this boss. Is it just damaging itself with the lava? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah,
I just have to not hit it.
armor comes off, and then you don't get to beat it after that armor comes off.
Wait, Shan, what do you mean explode? Define explode.
Explode.
What about spleen fluid? That's a great idea!
I don't think spleens have a specific fluid.
Elena, in order to damage it, you gotta get it to drill the rocks.
Spleens hold extra blood. So spleen fluid would just be blood.
Well, okay, if you put a spleen in a juicer, you can get spleen fluid.
Spleens are just like a backup blood reservoir, and they also produce specific antibodies for specific diseases, and that's it. Spleens are very weird.
Hey, Bis, does Tails hitting the boss actually count?
Yes.
Oh.
So you can live without a spleen, just you have to watch out for a couple of specific diseases.
I think Elena actually... I think Elena actually died to the final boss of Sonic 3 because Tails killed it before she could hit it, and then she just fell past the boss and died.
Oh.
Which is fucking hilarious.
Also, somebody in the YouTube comments mentioned on our previous stream of this that section with the big Metal Sonic mech thing was not in the original version of the game. It was added in an update, so that's why I didn't remember it, because it wasn't there when I played it.
I think an AI like Tails might be a lot more fun in a game that was like more reliable. Well,
I just like having a pal hanging around.
Just maybe in a game that I could handle better, and then Tails could come in to add some chaos. But as it stands, Tails would be adding chaos to chaos.
I just like having. I find these games better when I just have a pal hanging around.
I think what I would describe it as, Cassie, is either a game that's less variable or has lower stakes.
Yeah.
For you, Sonic is a game.
Those are both like right on.
In any game, if I have the option to have a pal come along with me, I will like that better than playing it as a character by themselves.
Yeah, but they can't help you because otherwise that's cheating.
Yeah.
I really want. I'm gonna be honest, Shan. Number one, I hope you're alright. I hope the hyperactivity isn't a problem. I also wish I was there to experience it. The idea of you with like with super energy is kind of, I don't know, it's endearing, and also sounds fun.
I've been kind of tired lately, but I have a lot of work I'm supposed to do, and it's not a very good combo.
My whole family's got like a cold or whatever.
You know, I used to have so much fucking energy. I used to like run every day. Like not as like not as an activity, but just like if I was at work and I wanted to go get something from across the road, I would run there and back.
At the moment.
But like, ever since I spent that year off recovering from the surgery, I have no energy anymore ever, and I need to fight against it, but it's hard.
I really want to have more energy. I'm thinking it'd be good for me to go out for walks more often. Just the thing that sucks is that COVID and you get scared.
Well, if you're outside, that's like one of the lowest danger things you can be doing.
Yeah. No, I would still get scared.
Like, cause we went to the beach a few times, and there were other people there, but there weren't very many.
You're not bothersome.
And there was like, I've seen charts of like what are the most and least danger levels for the virus, and basically anything outside you're basically just safe. Like there's basically it's not very much different than being inside.
Did you say snow?
Yeah.
Especially when we were at the beach, because
no, Elena, I need
it's
Elena,
really
this
windy.
is very important. I need to know if snogging outside is safe. Like, you gotta tell me.
Bis, you don't.
Elena, I've done nothing but snog for the last 2 weeks. I've done nothing but snog for the last 4 months, Elena. I need to know.
But yeah, it was really windy, so any like particles in the air just get blasted away.
It's funny.
It is pretty funny. Also, Shan, I have literally never witnessed you bother a single person ever in my entire life.
Yeah, for real.
Oh. Why do I stink at these stages so bad?
Oh no. You're literally just cool and good, Shan.
Yeah. How long have we been streaming for? An hour and a half?
You know, I was literally just about to say Sonic 3 and Shan for some reason, Cassie. I don't know why.
Hey Elena, do you have the Encore DLC?
No.
Yeah, and she refuses to get it.
I have no interest in it.
I even offered to buy it for her so we could stream it.
Don't waste your money.
No.
I actually like the game enough to buy it, and it's pretty good. I like Ray the Flying
It's like I only ever
Squirrel.
play as Sonic anyway, so why do I care about these other characters?
Why don't you play?
There's Ray the Squirrel.
Ray's
I don't
incredible.
care. I've already played through these levels. Like, I've like, especially now, it's like I'm not gonna play it again. Like now, and then if it's a long enough time between me playing, I don't remember what it was like to play as Sonic, so I want to play as Sonic, and then
Elena,
it's like, I'm not gonna, like, you know?
Elena, I am losing my shit, Elena. Like, 5 minutes ago I saw Mellow Jacket's thing about you getting to the special stage and immediately falling off. I didn't know how immediate it was.
That's not the first time I fell off a special stage that fast either.
Oh, I know. It's just amazing how just consistently you magnetize to the nearest hole.
It's because I'm trying to hit those rings. You gotta get rings so you have time.
Is this just you in bosses again? You're so desperate to get the thing that you just throw yourself into a meat grinder?
No strategy, only go.
No strategy.
That's how I do
Oh
RPGs as well, as I just go into the battles and hope for the best.
I'm imagining
What strategy?
I'll admit, that's how I do most RPGs too.
That's how I do
maybe
everything.
just because I don't play hard enough RPGs that like require me to have a lot of strategy. Usually my strategy is like moment to moment stuff.
I have strategy in Pokemon because as I talk about, I spent 10 years learning Pokemon.
It took you 10 years to learn 15 type match.
What is that like mean, though? That you took 10 years? Like,
it took 10 years to study all the intricate details of how Pokemon works. That's how long it took me to memorize like how stats work and...
It took you 10 fucking years to learn attack, defense, special attack, defense.
Yeah, but I mean to learn like what they are for different Pokemon. Like I don't know I don't remember stats specifically,
a lot of
but I
them
remember
have
like general.
logic. It's not logic that's immediately apparent.
I think I'm pretty good at remembering Pokemon type matchups.
I somehow missed for years that Ice is good against Ground though.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was somehow an addition, because the first time I noticed it was in Pokemon Shuffle, which has like automatic type matchup things, like you can have it pick Pokemon that are good against things, and it kept picking Ice type for Ground, and I was like, what? And then I looked it up, and it's like, how long has that been a thing? And then it was like, in Generation 1, and I'm like, what? How did I never know that one? And then I'm like, it was like a Mandela effect thing, and I go and look at my Pokédex that I had from the Pokemon 10th anniversary, and it says it too.
It's that combined with just the fact that ice is a big factor in erosion, because water gets into cracks and then it freezes and expands.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like
see, that's what I mean when I say that a lot of the type matchups have logic behind them, but like it's not immediately apparent.
I think my favorite theorized type matchup logic is that Bug is good against Dark, just because Dark is evil in Japanese and
Bug is not good against Dark.
No, it is.
There's no type matchup there.
No, it is. It is. I'm looking this up right now, Elena. I'm going to bold up. You spent 10 fucking years learning this shit, Elena. Let's have a look. Bug.
Bug is good against Psychic.
No, Elena, stop. Let's have a look.
It is. No,
I like
Bug is good against Psychic.
It's a phobia.
Yeah, all of the things that Psychic is weak to are because
Bug
they're scary.
is ×2 against Dark, Grass, and Psychic.
What?
Yeah, and Joe,
I only knew Grass and Psychic.
So,
is this the Ice type thing again?
Okay, yeah, it's the Ice type thing again.
What?
Okay,
I never knew that. That
so
Bug is good against Dark.
The reason Bug is good against Dark is just because of how big Kamen Rider is in Japan.
I refuse to believe this.
That's great.
I know, right? It's incredible.
Has it always been that way?
Really cute.
That's also why.
There's no way.
Yeah, that's also what I think the reason why in the generation where Dark was introduced, there was immediately a superhero Ladybird Pokemon. Ladybird.
You know what? I'm gonna reiterate my point that all of the Pokemon type matchups seem to have logic behind them, but the logic is not always immediately apparent.
I thought Bug was useless because it only had 2 things it was good against, and it barely has any, and the Pokemon all have sort of low stats for the most part. They're all sort of at the best glass cannons, and then they don't have very high-powered moves, at least not for many generations.
It is kind of a bad type because on average they have the lowest HP and base stat totals, and also they only do half damage on Fairy, Fighting, Fire, Flying, Ghost, Poison, and Steel.
I knew about all of the other type matchup. Like, none of the rest of these were...
reading this off, or do you just have it memorized?
No, I'm looking on Bulbapedia. I didn't know the weaknesses thing. I knew that it was strong against Dark Grass and Psychic, though. I knew that it was weak against
Fairy. I mean, weak against Fairy.
I didn't know that. I thought Bugs would be strong against Fairy.
You would think that you would know your own type matchup.
Oh my fucking god. Fairy's one of the newer ones, so I've had less time to memorize that shit. But
Fairy is the best, is the one I have best memorized because it is the newest.
I've never heard because you saying that implies that you're like actively into Pokemon.
I was until I was, although I've made the choice to be out of it now. Cause like,
oh, I see.
I like Gen 2. I actually went back and played. I like Gen 3. I think I went back and played Gen 1 and 2 after 3, or am I played them just before?
I went to an in-person Pokemon competition for X and Y and won a few battles.
I like Gen 4. I liked. I didn't play Gen 5. Gen 6 was pretty alright.
Gen 5 is the best one, though.
Yeah, but I just didn't know. Okay, Elena.
Gen 5 black and white.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
But yeah, basically. So then I played Gen 6, and then I played 7. And 7, I kind of like. 7 was kind of like Kirby Planet Robobot for me, where I was like, okay, this is probably like the peak of this style of game for me, right? Like, I'm not gonna like the next generation of Pokemon as much because it's gonna be on a console that requires them like it.
Oh, like, so like you knew that when they jumped to 3D, they were gonna have to like pare it back.
Yeah, because the exact same thing.
Jump to HD, you mean?
What was that, Cassie?
You were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and also I was just like, well, this one has theming I like, the same way that Robobot did. Like, Robobot is like, I'm using Robobot as a comparison because it explains it better than Pokemon does, but Robobot is like, built on the engine of a game on the same console, so there's less development time, and they went with an interesting theme, and they kind of put in a load of stuff. So I knew that I wouldn't like the next generation. The only reason I played Sword and Shield is just because they were based in Britain, and I had to evaluate how well they did it.
I knew that was the reason.
Yeah, because for years I was saying that should be a region, and I think I'm kind of disappointed.
The only thing that I like is discovering... well, not the only thing, but the main thing that I like is discovering new Pokemon that I've never seen before. And Generation 5 was the best one for that, aside from when I played Generation 1, which I didn't know any of the Pokemon yet when I did that. So that was all discovering new stuff the whole way, and then that was all discovering new Pokemon. No. I went from Generation 1 directly to Generation 5.
Oh. So
because I didn't have a DS until Generation 5 was out.
So both of your first Pokemon games, you were just getting entirely all new Pokemon.
Yeah, and then so that's why my next favorite has been Sword and Shield, but that's only because I painstakingly avoided spoilers for like an entire year, so that I wouldn't know any of the Pokemon, because they love nowadays to advertise everything.
Remember when we did that bit where we were like joking about the concept of, what was it?
A Farfetch'd evolution.
Sirfetch'd.
Big bamboo stick or whatever. The sword.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was called Sirfetch'd. We were joking about that. Completely taking the piss. And you just like didn't know we were talking about a real Pokemon because we were framing it as just joking about like, would it be funny if this existed?
And then Elena had a dream about a different Pokemon, and we pretended that one was real. Like she had guessed the Pokemon in her dream. Elena's very fun to goof on because she's such an innocent woman. She just will never suspect you.
Oh.
Oh yeah, for the record books, my favorites are Gen 4 and Heart Gold and Soul Silver, purely because those are the only games I played as a kid and I'm nostalgic.
Heart Gold and Soul Silver are often considered like the best games in the series by a lot of people.
See, that makes me lucky, I guess. I was so spoiled because I remember when I found out
Oops.
there was a whole other region and that you could get Squirtle.
Mm.
And Squirtle was my favorite Pokemon, and I did everything in my power to finally get a Squirtle, and then I did, and I was like, "Yay, Squirtle, I love you."
Hey, do you remember
my
when we
favorite
could...
Pokemon is Electros. And I like
do
it
you remember-
because it has no weaknesses. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, what does that mean?
It's weak to no type.
Oh,
Because of its
Hey.
ability. Well, I guess its only weakness is a Pokemon with an ability that, like, removes its ability. But it doesn't
Hey.
have any type weakness on its own.
You know what's pretty great about Heart Gold and Soul Silver?
yeah.
Do you remember how we had every Pokemon that currently existed and also they could be out on the field? Do you remember that? Do you remember how 2D games are just better sometimes?
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, speaking of dreams.
It was a hot disagree, but I completely understand where you're coming from. Also, I loved, I don't remember if it was Diamond and Pearl or Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but there was a little park where you could walk around your, Pokemon, and, like, I think it was probably Diamond
Oops.
and Pearl, because that didn't have following
I'm
Pokemon.
disappointed that I didn't have a DS for so long, because I was unable to get these games when they were new. And now they're
Their
very
excuse
expensive.
for why you couldn't just walk any old Pokemon in the park was, I think the excuse
Tails
was that they had to
got stuck. Look at him.
Yeah,
Tails is trying
'cause they
so
had to
hard.
make price for the other Pokemon.
Look at Tails.
So you could only bring cute Pokemon, but I remember bringing Pachirisu. And, yeah, I love that. I loved Pachirisu as a kid. I don't know how to pronounce it. I also loved Baneri. So
Oh,
cute.
I like Bunary.
Yeah, I had so much fun at that park. Cause you gotta understand, as a kid, I didn't like the battling. I've never liked Pokemon battles. I liked being in the world and
Oh, I liked the battles.
interacting with the Pokemon.
Make them fight!
They didn't let Combi into the cute Pokemon park? Are you fucking serious? That's
'Cause
it.
bugs aren't
Fuck
cute.
it. Gen
Bugs are
4
scary.
shit. I'm burning Gen 4. Oh, you're
yeah,
getting
but
Sword
yeah,
soon, Chan? I hope you enjoy it.
But yeah,
Also,
all these
yeah,
Pokemon
okay.
games are very expensive now, so I'm sad that I never had a DS when those games were new.
Wait.
I hope they do like, cause you know how they always do like remakes of the older generations. I hope
Okay.
they do.
Everybody, can I give you a heads up?
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so two things. Number one, they probably won't do remakes of Diamond and Pearl because they decided... Because you know how, like, Nintendo and Nintendo adjacent things have an arbitrary limit on what's considered nostalgic? I think that Gen 4 is not considered retro, and also, like, they've decided to go back to Gen 1 with the shitty fucking Let's Go garbage.
I feel like they're just gonna start over with remakes and they're gonna remake Generation 2 again next.
So that's a problem.
Oops.
Also, number two, fucking Sasha just drew me. Can you put this on stream? It has absolutely nothing to do with the stream. I'm just
I
very
have something
happy
I really
about
want to
it.
talk about before I forget it.
Okay, tell me the
Oh,
thing.
wow, that's so good.
It really fucking is. Well, I got a new icon. Although I'm going to let Arrow's one just stay for a bit longer, though. And then in a couple days, I'll swap over to Sasha's.
It's not going on the stream. It's not working. I can't show it.
What if I just send you the image?
Oh, Gen 4
dragging it in
Underground,
and
that
it's
was
not
another
working.
thing I loved as a kid. The Underground was so cool. I love that you could do bases and stuff. Like, Bis, do you understand, like...
There it is.
Do you understand where I'm coming from when I say that, like, the thing that appeals to me about Pokemon is, like, the world and the creatures and everything, and not the battles? And that's why it frustrates me that the games are so battle-centric, and I wish they'd pull back a little bit.
I spent a long time learning those battles. You better believe I like them.
Hell yeah.
What, Bis?
Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, two things. I was just saying. Number one, hell yeah, the fucking art's on the stream.
Okay, now let me talk about the thing I wanted to talk about before I forget it or get dragged out. It was on the topic of dreams. An interesting thing I notice in dreams is that when I dream about a horror game or just scary things in general, they're always like way scarier than anything like any real horror game could be to me. Which I believe is just because like when I'm asleep, my brain can just tap directly into my fear center and just like directly activate it. And so it doesn't really matter what it is, I can just feel scared by the thing. And it was interesting, I had a dream last night about playing a horror game. It was sort of like a point-and-click adventure thing, but also like you would point and click at things was how you controlled it, but you would just move around it in first person, like a first-person shooter type control scheme, but then you would just click on things. And you could like jump and like move around, that kind of thing. But anyway, it was a horror game thing, and it involved like mice, like rat things, which at first I was like, oh, this isn't very scary, but then I got to this area where you'd like look down this hole, and there was like some sort of warning that this thing would attack if it hears you, so you have to be really like quiet and like not get too close to it. And it's like this big, it has like big mouse ears, but it's like all bright yellow, and it has like an elongated like alligator type mouth almost, but it's like very smooth, and it's just like chewing on something. And somehow this was very scary to me in the dream. Somehow I was frightened by this thing, even though I also knew it looked goofy. But then...
Can I say while we're on the toy boss, that this one is really fun when you run super form, because you can just get all the toys out at once.
Oh.
What was I about to say? Oh yeah, I was about to reply to what
wait, I didn't finish talking yet.
Yeah, finish.
So then I was in like almost, I would say like a sewer type area, and there's this weird like clown laughter happening, and I get this like extreme sense of dread, like something is gonna get me, and so I have to move really fast. And it was so terrifying, and there's like some sort of pickup thing that I went past, like I really wanted to get it, and I was almost going to, but then it was like, oh, I don't have time to pick this up because that thing's gonna get me, and it was scary because I don't know what it is. I just hear this like threatening laughing. And also it's like difficult to navigate, like I'm missing jumps and stuff like that, and it's like, oh god, I gotta go faster. And it was so scary that in the dream I was like, okay, I have to turn this off because it's too much. And then but then I start playing it again, right? And then this time I see the monster, and it's just like this cute little mouse. And then I'm like, oh, that was it. Like, see, and then in the dream I was like, see, I knew that if I saw what this thing was, it was going to be less scary. Like, I wasn't going to be scared anymore if I see what it actually is. Because whatever I could imagine it as was scarier.
Answer Cassie was saying. Well, Cassie was saying I see what you mean about the world and stuff. I think I would appreciate. Okay, so here's my thing, right? I know you see a 2D Pokemon game as being counter to like immersion and interaction and stuff,
Not
right?
necessarily.
That's. I think like maybe my ideal, like if I was maybe making the next Pokemon game, which I won't be. Probably there'd be focus on stuff like that as well, and like I would probably like try and find ways of bringing the petting thing to 2D, even if basically all they do is just like tween and squash and stretch to react. I think that like enough motion can make still sprites feel like something.
Yeah, it can definitely help. You know, they did a lot in Gen 5, because didn't they have like 2D puppets?
Yeah, they had puppets. I always thought it's interesting that Pokemon has never like had it so that specific
the animations were great in black and white.
It's interesting to me that Pokemon's never across all species made it so that they can have like slightly randomized heights or textures or anything. There's a few
I always end up thinking about like a lot of things. I'm like, why don't they put in a little extra effort to bring like a little randomized character into things?
Yeah, or just like the speed of their idol even. Gone?
Well, maybe less so for newer Pokemon, but for a lot of the older Pokemon, I think a lot of the designs were simple enough that a random variation would like dilute them.
I'm mostly talking about variation.
To talk about Sonic, for a moment. I want to mention that this level used to give me a ton of trouble. Like this one I would run into the time limit on constantly. It took a long time for me to manage to get through this level originally.
I believe the level of the background of this level was originally going to be a 3D model of the giant robot you're infiltrating, but then they, like, I think, decided to instead sprite over the 3D model, so it's like a weird angular sprite.
Wait, what?
In the background, there's a giant robot you're getting into, right? And there is a model for that in the game, which at some point might have been the background for this stage.
I used to get really lost on this level too, and end up like going in circles constantly. Somehow.
You know, I think it might have helped if it was like an actual 3D model, because I think I always miss it, and I think like if we're getting, you know, those like subtle differences as the viewing angle changes.
Yeah.
I think like it would.
Wait, I want to
like,
get to that ring.
I think it would feel more like obvious in the background. And you would like notice it more.
No, it doesn't matter. I have a finished save file on this. If we want to see the true ending, we can just go to that.
I
don't
wonder
have to
if
do the special stages.
I wonder if modders could put it back in, because there are already stages that have 3D models in the background, like the Metal Sonic fight.
That would be really cool.
There's a 3D model of this in the game files, the Yellow Jacket says. Or Mellow Jacket, excuse me.
Oh yeah, sorry. I forgot that it was used in the like on the in the cutscene as well. Also, sorry if you just said that and then I said the exact same thing, Mellow. At the minute, it's hard to keep up.
Mellow Jacket in chat said, "When I was a little kiddo, I had a recurring nightmares about the orange Nickelodeon logo blob breaking in through my bedroom window."
Oh my god.
Incredible.
Oh, Shan says, Pokemon has everything I like. Friendship with them creatures, fighting, socialism, climate good, honor. I really like the Gen 1 sprite.
Also, I want to mention, these ball things used to give me a lot of trouble. Because I don't think I understood how they worked. So that's probably why I'm doing better now.
I think that, like, both Sonic... I think Sonic in general, but also Sonic 3 and Mania specifically, have a lot of focus on pseudo 3D minor elements, and I think that my brain is just wired to understand those slightly better than yours, Elena. Like I'm a pseudo 3D fanatic.
What did you say about pseudo 3D? Sorry if I'm struggling to pay attention.
Oh, it's fine, honey. We're just talking about like how these balls in this level that you stick to.
Oh god, this boss! I hate this one. I stink at this
you
boss.
You orbit around them in 3D.
Oh yeah, so you don't mean that they're like I thought you were saying that they were like rendered in 3D for a second.
No.
And I was like, what?
Hey, I'm managing to keep my rings though, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, it's the boss that always completely fucking demolishes you.
Yep.
Yo, can I tell you something that's really annoying?
This boss, if I remember which one is coming up, this one sucks.
I like it.
It has the small projectiles that are like the same color as a bunch of the background elements.
Thanks, Tails. You picked up that ring for me.
I hate it. Do you see those teeny tiny little spike projectiles?
Yeah,
I
see
saw
that.
That are like the same color as other things.
I love how
I'm
you
used
say
to them
can you.
now.
I love how you say can you see them, even though us seeing them would like this would not help your point actually. Do you not see them?
I managed to keep my rings the whole time.
I don't think it would
So they were not
demolish
famous
it,
last words.
because the point isn't that they're invisible, it's just that the visibility is poor.
I'm mostly just having a giggle.
I see.
Okay, so you know how like people talk about how in Sonic Forces Chaos is not a boss, even though like they were in the marketing and everything.
Yeah.
That boss that Elena has just beat is literally just part of the tiling background of one of the levels in Forces. There's dozens of that boss doing nothing. I know, right? It's
Also, I
wild.
had a dream when I was little that just sounds funny now, but I thought was very scary at the time. Which was this is what made me afraid of skeletons for a long time. Is I had a dream about skeletons dancing in my bedroom doorway, singing "We are the skeletons." Something like I remember the exact tune. It was about like that.
Sasha says, I used to have reoccurring nightmares of a giant neon green lizard that traveled flat on my wall and was attempting to murder me. I had to hide under my blanket as it slowly got close to my bed, and if it caught me outside the blanket, it would kill me. This was when I was 6.
Oh. Yeah,
I've
no, I
never
just had
had
the funny skeleton dream. I don't think.
I
Yeah,
don't think I have either. I think I've had a couple dreams that like went in sequence, like picked up from previous dreams.
Oh, fuck. Episodic. Fuck.
I've had that on rare
Episodic
occasion.
releases.
Although sometimes, what happens for me more often is I'll have a dream where I remember something, but I only remember it in that dream. Like, I'll remember something that happened, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then I wake up and I'm like, the hell was that? That never happened. How did I remember that?
Have you ever had a dream where, like, you go through a load of, like, weird life changes and, like, a load of emotional growth, and then you wake up and none of it happened?
That's kind of the ghost dream that I had the other night. It was very emotional, and it was like this thing that I learned. I should explain the ghost dream on stream, because I don't think I ever actually got to tell anybody about that one. Be a good stream topic. There's been lots of fun conversation on the stream today. Almost none of it has been about Sonic, but I'm actually doing better at Sonic than usual when I'm just kind of barely paying attention to it.
Very weird about this game. Bis, am I right in remembering that one of the only 4 options in the options menu of this game is to turn off the time limit?
I think so, yes.
That's an option.
And that was added.
That wasn't an option when I played it.
Oh yeah, it was added in a patch, I think.
Oh,
that's not an option
I guess that actually makes more sense. Because to me it seems like a minor enough thing that instead of asking the player to choose, they would just, you know, choose to get rid of the time limit because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, the time limit in Sonic is, like, just so weirdly unnecessary. I don't know why it's there.
Yeah,
and I only have bad things to say about it because of the time. Because most of the time you don't even notice it, but when you do notice it, it's because you lost a life to it.
Yeah, or it only punishes people who are just doing terrible. And saves you from soft locks, I guess. Thanks.
I was... Okay, it does
like, that probably sounds funny, but I got soft locked once, and I had to use the timer to save me from it in a Sonic
Boy, this
game.
is probably a place where I get stuck. Or get lost, or...
It makes the Sonic leaving the game Easter egg in Sonic CD slightly more fair, because nobody was leaving the game idle unpaused anyway. I think that one of my general opinion of Mania, which I've probably mentioned many times before, is that it's a really good distillation of the classics, right? And also an improvement on them in a lot of ways. But it could really have done if there's ever like another classic Sonic game, it needs to like
not be so beholden to the traditions.
Yeah, it needs to just ask questions.
Like, the thing is, like, I've never picked up a 2D Sonic game and just gotten anywhere close to having fun. Like, it took me a lot of work to get to a point with Mania where I was actually having fun. And I haven't gotten to that point with any of the other classic games, and I don't think I plan to. So... I think it must be, like, better than those games in my mind, but, like, it still has problems.
Yeah.
From those games.
I think they could afford to just have a camera that's able to zoom out or something if you're going quickly. They could afford to remove the 10-minute time limit. They could afford
I never actually thought of doing a camera, like, zooming dynamically like that. Bis, you're a fucking legend. That's a great idea.
Thank you. I don't think... Okay, so there's the thing though, right? Is that technically they've kind of just already done that in... Okay, so Sonic Team has already done that just on a section-by-section basis rather than dynamically. In Sonic Generations, they zoom the camera out sometimes.
Great.
So it's like they know that sometimes zoom the camera out, they just never thought to make a dynamic system for the platformers that have variability.
Can I tell everybody about the ghost stream?
1 second, let me just quickly... Okay, never mind. You go on, I'll think of more things that the next Sonic game should do.
Okay.
While you do that.
So... Let's see, where do I begin on this? Because it was an interesting dream because it was very coherent. Like, it managed to be one coherent story, basically. You know, it all... Well, then it kind of... It meandered a little bit. Like, the setting changed in a bit of a random way here and there, as dreams do. But it managed to, like, keep the story together. It was kind of like an AI dungeon story. Where, like, if you manage to get a good one that manages to stay coherent, it'll still sort of meander a bit. But you can, like, get a whole story out of it.
Because Shan is so fucking right. I'm putting a note.
Sonic Classic is a tad niche.
Okay, so I'm just gonna very, very, very quickly say this, right? I think that part of the reason that Sonic is a pariah series that everybody says was never really good and it's a load of uninteresting garbage is because it's a series which I think ideally has a very specific audience, right? And it's very Marmite-y. You either love it or you hate it, right?
What?
But the problem is
Marmite-y?
Marmite-y is in the food Marmite, which famously people either love or hate.
Today.
That's a bit of a British/Australian culture for you.
I know about
America
Marmite.
has that.
Ah, cool.
I mean, I don't think we have it, but I do know of it.
But basically, long story short, what I'm saying
what am I supposed to do here? I'm stuck.
1 second, I'll tell you after I finish my thing. Basically, I think that like classic Sonic is like very good in a specific niche, but the problem is that like it's still considered a competitor to the most mainstream of mainstream games ever, Super Mario Brothers.
I will say that I feel like they're not helping like widen that niche, and not that widening a niche is a good thing, but there's some things that are just like anti-beginner. Like circling back to the time limit, that's just there.
Yeah,
and the life limit, that's just there.
I think that like if you view it as like a if you view it as an emerging genre, I at least think that Spark and Freedom Planet, like more so Spark because Freedom Planet doesn't really actually do anything with its Sonic elements. They're only surface level. But, like, those two games are kind of, I think, making the genre more accessible.
Oh, that's interesting to call it a genre.
Eggman.
But, like, I think you're just right about it being a genre.
I mean, the fact that, like,
this was gonna be quick.
okay, I'm gonna hurry. The fact that just jumping off of an angled surface doesn't jump you straight up is a Sonicism, is a sign that a load of mechanics haven't been experimented with outside of Sonic because they've been wrongfully associated with a series rather than a rightful genre. Okay, Elena, go.
Well, now I gotta focus on this boss battle.
Okay,
so
I'll
this
continue talking then.
No, wait, no! This is a little bit trickier. How come I'm not damaging?
Oh, this is fucking hilarious.
What?
You
What's
in
hilarious?
this fight. Oh
I don't understand why.
I wouldn't want to call it new platformer. I'd want to call it like
Momentum?
slope platformer, maybe. Because like, there's a lot of games where maybe physics. I feel like physics then like imply. I feel like physics.
Yeah, that does carry connotations of.
Okay, well, so much for that.
Of like QWOP, I guess. Maybe not QWOP.
Yeah. Good. That's a good example.
Yeah.
I
think
those kinds of physics.
Yeah. Also,
Alright,
like
well,
Mario Brothers 1 has momentum.
Well, we'll finish this next time. I'm about done with this.
Really, on the final boss?
Been going for too well, because I have to go back through all the other levels again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I played the Freedom Planet demo, and it might, from my perspective, it's not like Sonic at all. Like, there's like no like real momentum.
It's
You
really
just like, especially like if you notice some of the set pieces, you don't really even have to build momentum to like past them. You can just kind of walk.
I think it's interesting how Spark basically has a button that puts you up to your default top speed just automatically. So there's never a challenge in getting fast enough.
I guess
But, like,
that's kind of like the thought.
Yeah. What I'm saying though is that like that game at least feels right. So it like still interacts with the player in a feeling level. Whereas in Freedom Planet, it just doesn't even feel weighty. It just feels the. I think Freedom Planet's really overrated. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't want to like super dunk on it or anything because, well, I mean, I don't even have the perspective to. I only played the demo.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I gave it several tries and played as like all the characters that were available in the demo. And yeah, I just wasn't into it.
Yeah. Okay, Elena, what was the thing you wanted to mention?
It's too late now. I'm done with the stream.
No, Elena, say, please.
No, it's gonna take too long.
Nope, you're gonna do it.
Is it the skeleton dream?
No.
Or wait, no, it's the other dream.
No, it's fine. I'll explain it another time.
Okay, Elena, I'm sorry I ruined your entire stream and life and future.
No, it was because I ended up at the final boss at a bad time. Well, and then, well, yeah, you also had to interrupt me.
Yeah, ruined it.
That took up
you
some
can just
time,
say ruined it.
No.
You can just say I ruined it. It's chill.
No.
I'm in a weird situation because, like, okay, so just going back to the Freedom Planet Spark thing, right? Freedom Planet is a good game. It's just that I hate the fact that it's considered Sonic-like.
Yeah.
And then Spark.
How you would sum it up.
And then Spark, I haven't.
Sonic at all.
Yeah. And then I have a complicated relationship with Spark as well, because Spark is like the distilled goodness of several different series I like in one.
Like Kirby.
Yeah, it's like Carbonic Revengeance. But and also a lot of how it does design are like the ways I think things should be done. But then like it's made by an asshole apparently. So if I'm like I want to say that this is like the underrated game to Freedom Planet, underrated Sonic-like to Freedom Planet's overrated Sonic-like. But if I do that, I'm also promoting the work of an asshole.
Right, and then it ends up being like you have to consider like, well, maybe it's underrated for a reason.
But then also it gets more complicated because then I'm like, well, he's just a bog stand. Then it gets more complicated because I'm like, it's also the income of the asshole, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Apparently, he's providing for his family of the money, like his parents.
That's the case, isn't it? Like, I think he's. What country was he in?
Brazil.
Like, apparently, from what you were saying, he like struggles financially, and so does his family, right? And he's got to like support all of them.
And I think part of the reason.
I don't know. It's a weird question that I don't know how to answer.
That's fair. Let's have a look. A message has been held. There are assholes in most workplaces.
Yeah, there really are.
I like to consider myself an asshole in McDonald's.
That's kind of like the funny thing about art is like if there's a lot of people making it like together, there's kind of bound to be somebody trash in there, especially when it's like. Especially when you're like, you know, hired to do it from like a company like Cartoon Network or something. Sorry, I'm thinking of a specific example. So.
Oh, I know. Is it the person that everybody attributes Clarence to, despite the fact that he was immediately kicked off?
Yeah. Also, according to the head of story, despite what the episode credits say, he never wrote a single episode. So like. There's that. I really think like what little reputation the show had at the time was kind of squandered by this one shithead who never should have been on the show in the first place, and just got the rest of the crew punished for his actions. I want to make a video on that and like debunk it. and like, you know, like debunk all the misconceptions and like so like the head of story from that time who quit because of this person because he fucking hated it.
Yeah.
He had a lot to say. Like he basically said that like Skylar Page never wrote like a single episode and stuff like that, and that like he was just a bitch the whole time, and that's why he quit.
So everybody's saying thanks for the stream. Thanks you for being here.
I guess I can tell about the dream. This
I
has
tell
gone
about the dream
on for so long anyway. It can go a little longer.
Mission accomplished.
Trying to figure out where to start it or how to describe it.
Hey Lane, can you just play Sunshine in the background while you do this?
No.
No.
I don't have that cartridge with me. I don't think. Anyway, I think it's Pokemon in there right now. Anyway, it was something like there was some like family thing that I was supposed to do that was very serious, right? But nobody will like explain it to me. It's just sort of like I'm like, what is this thing we're supposed to do? And like I wouldn't explain it to me, but it was some sort of like I was aware that it was some sort of like ghost thing, I think, and there had been some sort of like prophecy or some sort of vision that I and a family member had about it, and like now it was finally going to come true, and it was some sort of important thing, but like they couldn't like spoil it for me. Basically, like it had to like if I knew what it was going to be, it wouldn't work or something like that. But it was very important, and it involved being in like my grandma's house, and had to do with the ceiling, and I had to get close to the ceiling, like my level of vision, like they had to make me taller so my level of vision would be like near the ceiling, and then there was like this weird red haze that I would then see. But then it sort of got muddled from there, and that didn't end up being what happened, and eventually it turned into I had to have this like big, what was basically a big metal sombrero. Like it was the shape of a sombrero, but it was metal.
Oh, I remember you talking.
Yeah, I mentioned the metal sombrero before. And then it ended up, we're in like a mall or something, like a store of some kind, and I got this big metal sombrero, and then you look through it, like it's just solid metal, but if you look through it at like the ghost or whatever, then you see the ghost, but only I could see it. And I was like, holy crap, like I'm actually seeing like the ghost thing. It was like, I can't believe it, this is a real thing. But then everybody like left me alone, and this is something I was supposed to do by myself. And this was like the spirit of some person I was supposed to meet, but they died, and so I didn't get to meet them like I was supposed to or something. But now I get to meet them, and it was like very emotional. I don't remember any details about that.
Person you're not supposed to meet after not surviving.
But yeah, and then I was just sort of like hanging out with the ghost for a while. I don't remember any details more than that, but we were just like hanging out in like the mall or whatever, and then eventually they like had like, I don't know, fulfilled their purpose and no longer had to be a ghost or whatever, and then like turned into ash, and then that was the end of the dream. And then but the dream didn't stop, it just like turned into something else. And then in the dream I was like, I then became aware that that was a dream, and I was like, wow, that was a really coherent dream that I just had. Like that had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
You're a delicious sport.
I was like, wow, I had a dream that actually like went through to its conclusion and like managed to stay on the same story the whole time.
You know what's definitely interesting about Steven not surviving?
Yeah.
What?
Steven after not surviving. You know the middle drawing where he's like progressing toward becoming Sans?
Yeah.
Why did he have to lose his hair? Like, because if you're a skeleton, you just don't have hair.
I think it was just to be part of the visual gag.
Like, probably. Wait, do you think it's Ah, man, you know what? You're probably right. It's probably supposed to be a gag.
Cause yeah, that was the whole gag, was that somebody noticed that visually Steven looked a bit like Sans, and then tried to like exemplify it or exaggerate it for a joke.
It's kind of wild how like just Steven's powers just changed so much when he became a skeleton. Like basically he has none of his original moveset. Now he can like play the trombone. Why didn't he ever use that when he was fighting the diamonds? Checkmate, Steven Universe fan. If he could use shortcuts, why didn't he just shortcut into White Diamond's brain and punch it?
Oh my god, I'm finding other edits of Steven turning into Sans.
But yeah, it was like, with the ghost dream, that was the other thing. While I was still asleep and having another dream, I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. I had a dream about a ghost, but it wasn't like scary.
Look at this.
Okay, I'll put this on the stream to end the stream off with.
That's him.
No, I don't like this. No!
There you go, everybody.
Thanks.
Oh my god. I love this thumbnail. I love this thumbnail for you. Elena, this is just this one as well. Just this on its own, please. That's the last thing. I'm not looking for anything else. I promise. I promise. This is a YouTube thumbnail, by the way.
There you go.
People.
Oh wait, spoilers for the series finale. By the way, well, I guess the season 5 finale, pre-movie spoilers.
Chance's great pick.
Also, spoilers for the end of Undertale.
I added that part.
I mean, actually, you know what? Does this even count as change your mind spoilers? Because, like, what context can you glean from this?
But yeah, so what are my streams going to be in the upcoming week? I'm going to... I want to start Super Mario Galaxy 2, of course, and I want to stream Super Mario Bros. 35 again, because I realized I only streamed that once. I would love to stream it again. And then probably more Pokemon. I'm not gonna stream Tuesday this week, though. I'm probably gonna get back to mostly just my end of the week schedule, so Thursday, Friday, and Sunday.
I'm really glad that Sans was in Smash. I kind of wish we'd just gotten like a character though. Like Smash Brothers is more important than like half the games. Undertale is more important than half the games in Smash.
Undertale.
Concurrently, like you're probably right.
Yeah.
And then I'm hoping Friday, Cassie, you and I can do Spore again. I'm still really looking forward to that. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to review more characters in Spore.
Oh my god, Princess Rosalina turned up exactly at the end. Hello. I'm a fan of your...
Sunday,
I'm a fan of your work.
Sunday we will finish Sonic Mania, hopefully. The final level is very hard. I'll try my best. I should probably just play the final level on my old save file next time.
Stop right at the end.
Because I didn't want to play the levels again. And then we ended up just talking for a while.
Oh, you got a game over?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was a game over because... So yeah. We will try that on Sunday. Probably no more Tuesday streams for a while. Just Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
I forgot to talk about the lore in the entirety of Sonic Mania. I'm gonna have to fill everybody in with everything next episode.
Just we had too much fun talking about other stuff this time.
How much more is there to Sonic Mania? Okay, I know there's like the Phantom Ruby, but
we have to end the stream now. Okay, I need to get going.
Okay, I love you.
Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.
Okay.
Bye bye.
See you on Thursday.
Bye bye.